This podcast is brought to you by the Podtower, hosted by the Watchtower database. Visit youtube.com/thepodtower for informative, hilarious DC animation-themed podcasts and live streams every week. And check out the Watchtower database for DCAU video essays, timelines, fan theories, and more. And please, enjoy the show. Good morning.
Yum.
Wait. Good morning. Yum.
Fuck, we went the same.
You do the original, the low. Yum. Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. Yum.
Yum.
Yum. See, there you go. Okay. Good morning. Yum. No, you're a little sharp.
Am I pitchy?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Yum.
Yum. Also, why is it good morning yum?
Delicious. Because it was, well, I was doing the Red Robin
I know.
thing.
I understand, but I mean, like, in the context of this, why is it yum? Welcome back to... Let's do it. Let's do the thing.
Let's just start it over.
No. You say jump.
Jump
on
the Bat-Wagon.
Yeah, baby. We're back in style.
We're styling.
Well, I got it's cold here.
You got a Ducks hoodie on.
I got a Ducks hoodie.
Have you seen this?
The Big Bus Ducks.
Check this out.
Oh, yeah, you did that. Oh, my God. Brian is within his hood.
I'm a Nina.
A Nina? Like that episode where Batman fights the Nina?
Yeah.
The Nina tries to use the two-finger death punch or whatever. Just a little girl. Well, this is the podcast where we talk about what we're doing right now. We sing the Red Robin song and talk about Ninas.
Yeah.
I'm James. I'm here to show up my friend Brian. That's Brian over there.
And I'm Brian.
That's Brian. The entire DC animated universe from start to finish for the first time ever in the controversial airdate order.
Yes.
So that he may view these shows the way human beings experience them in the far gone days of the 1990s.
No cell phones allowed.
Nope. Oh, I guess I got to put this away and try to do it from memory. We recommend you watch today's DCAU episode before listening to the podcast to get the full experience out of our discussion. And please, if don't spoil, if you're going to leave a comment or whatever, don't spoil anything past this episode for Brian.
It's pretty good.
Today's episode is Riddler's Reform.
Not Revenge.
Reform. Riddler's Reckoning. Riddler's Reform. We have a special guest with us today.
We have a special guest. Which, if you've looked at the title, you probably know.
It's the Riddler. He's here. He's the only one worthy of the podcast, he says. That's a line from this episode that I just realized. So you don't... I mean, he doesn't say podcast.
Damn.
This is written by... Let me guess who it's written by. I don't think it's Paul Dini. I think it is... Randy Rogel. Okay. Wrote Robin's Reckoning and Riddler's Reform, apparently. And Two-Face. Story by Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, and Randy Rogel. Directed by Dan Riba. That's the actual guess. And music by Michael McQuistion, who previously composed Be a Clown, Vendetta, I Am the Night, Christmas of the Joker, Off Balance, Harley and Ivy, The Demon's Quest Part 1, Sideshow, and Avatar.
Okay. Heavy hitter.
Yeah, sure. And animation by...
Sunrise.
Dong
Yang.
Dong yang, dong yang, dong yang, dong yang. That's how the song goes. I hope Dan listens back to the podcast and he's like, wow, what did I do? Why was I there? Horrible idea.
This has been a chaotic 4 minutes.
All right. Time? Time.
It's time for Oko time.
Oh. Just keep saying landmarks from where we are.
Oko time is not here.
Oh. See, I don't know. Where is that?
Northern California.
What?
Yeah. We have a long drive to go get some sushi.
Let's go.
Okay.
See you in 6 hours.
Bless this thing. How do you solve this contraption, Enigma?
Easy. You just have to be a genius.
Well, you are a genius, my boy. Sales are up 20% across the country. These toys of yours are brilliant.
Where did you find him, CB? He's so adorable.
Who?
Me?
Of course, you silly. And you're so smart. I just love a man with brains.
Gee, I bet you say that to all the geniuses.
Oh, Mr. Riddler, can you tell me what these do?
Who's this Daniel?
Daniel.
Yeah, what that happened there? What's that going on?
What that happened there?
We're actually the same physical space. That's interesting.
For
It's-
once, yeah. We can only hear you out of one ear, but it's not you. It's us.
Oh, okay. Because I'm only speaking out of one mouth.
That does make sense, yeah. Brian fixed the problem.
Good to have smart friends.
Brian, honestly, that's what Brian is for me. Is Brian, my thing broke. Can you please fix the thing for me?
My kid's off in college, and he can't be that person for me anymore. But yeah, that's it.
Oh, shoot.
Brian is my kid.
What?
Yeah. Brian is my firstborn.
Firstborn in the way that I was born before you?
Yes, he was born first. You see.
It's a parallel universe.
Yeah. Hey, Dan. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
How's it going, buddy?
It goes. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's going. It's going.
Well, we did our little opening thing already where I describe, who directed this or whatever and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I did totally forget to tell Brian, as I always do, that this episode aired Saturday, September 24th, 1994. We skipped 1 week.
Oh, my.
10 a.m. on Fox Kids. We're on a roll of 10 a.m. on Fox Kids once a week. At this point.
Why did that change?
Because it's season 3, baby. Adventures of Batman and Robin now. We got a new intro as of last episode, and Brian didn't like it.
I know. That was a network insistence, and I don't think Bruce was involved very much. Eric did the editing for this, because I don't think Bruce was like, no, we're not changing it.
Yeah. Why would,
Yeah, we're changing the name of the show, and we have to, the network was very insistent. They were like, can we just put Robin in more episodes? Do we have to change the name of the show? And they're like, yes, the kids didn't want the Robin in their show. And so,
yeah, kids only respond to other kids. Like, that's the thought process. Even though I never cared. It did not matter to me at all.
I feel like when you're a kid, like, the levels of adulthood are, like, relatively squashed. Like, if you're a child, like watching Fox Kids, probably, and someone's like in high school, they're an adult.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, like, Robin's not a kid.
No. Robin isn't a kid. Yeah, he's in college. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. Like, Speed Racer was an adult to me as a kid watching. Even though he's supposed to be identifiable young person, I'm like, no, he's driving a car. He's an adult.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
That's a weird choice, networks.
So, yeah, when they made it The Adventures of Batman and Speed Racer, things just kind of went off the rails.
I would watch that show.
Yeah, honestly.
That's
off
brilliant.
the bat, I want to say, hands down, this is the best Riddler episode.
Absolutely.
So far, anyway, that I've seen.
No,
it is.
You could have stopped at the last sentence. Yeah.
I totally get, to the point where there was another episode that was similar, and we were like, this would probably work better as a Riddler episode because and they were like, no, it's not because it was based on a comic and we couldn't do that. Cape and Cowl.
Yeah.
They were, but the director really wanted to see if they could adapt it and turn it into a Riddler episode, and they were like, no, because
there's a running gag with the people that listen to this. The character that's not the Riddler in that episode is called Diet Riddler. We didn't quite get Riddler in that episode. We only got Diet Riddler.
But this one, like, we finally, like, it's been like the smart guy who's like a step ahead the whole time. Like, I've been waiting for this level of the Riddler being like actually like hyper intelligent, really like ahead of everybody. And like he says in the episode, the only person was
worthy of the game.
Yes.
is Batman.
Exactly.
So you have
God.
to tell me what happened. No. Usually
Yes.
we make the guest say what happened in the tell us the plot, the synopsis
guest?
of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Last
I
time
was
we
too-
didn't make you do this because we're like, he directs the episode. Of course he knows what happens. But I think it would be fun to hear Dan Riba tell us the synopsis of this episode.
Oh no, because I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to get distracted. And I'm
Try
gonna tell
very
you-
hard to only tell us what happens. Then we can
Because
talk about what
I
happened.
noticed all sorts of things like, well, the rain's inconsistent because of blah, blah, blah. And I start going off to virgin paths.
Try your best.
And all right.
Synyop, if you're wondering, Synyop, what you just watched. Synyop, take a listen to the synopsis, the short summary, which is sometimes kind of long.
So it begins. Where was it? Where remind me
They're
again.
on a,
What is it?
loading dock.
A loading dock
Yeah.
of the convention center thing, and some guys appear to be thugs, or the Riddler comes out with a box that looks very suspicious. Batman shows up to thwart his plan. Clearly, it's a bomb. And then all of a sudden, Baxter shows up, the owner of Wacko Toys, and who looks a little like the Monopoly guy.
You
But I
must be
digress.
the Monopoly.
But I digress. So, and it turns out that it's all legit, and Batman was wrong. The Riddler says something really confusing, cryptic, and so there is breaking news that the ancient history that the Riddler was talking about in his little weird cryptic comment turns out to be a break-in of some Ming vases at the Newman.
Newman.
Newman. So and then the ad shows up, and there's a code number that Bruce Wayne writes down immediately, figures out that it's a map, coordinates, and they figure out that they have to go to the First National Bank.
It's a good thing
So-
he keeps that map just right on his bookshelf, right next
Yes.
to him.
Well, it's, who doesn't? We didn't have the internet back then.
We got map shelves, yeah.
So everybody had, a Thomas Guide or something around, because really, you had to have a
He
map.
used to have a big atlas just sitting there at all times. Yeah.
End of Act 1. Act 2 begins there. The rooftop of the bank that Batman and Robin are on a stakeout, and then they realize they're in the wrong place because the map had been flipped over. The numbers are upside down. So he realizes it says 10 Leslie. That's an address. They go to that place. I don't know how they know which floor to go to.
Whatever.
But turns out it's a jewelry heist, and they thwart the heist. And
Zols.
Zols. Yes.
Zols.
On the door.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Somehow the thugs managed to knock a bookshelf, or not a bookshelf, a shelf over onto Robin, breaking his leg, or maiming him horribly, painfully.
Killing him.
A little. And then Batman frees him.
Adventures of Batman and Robin, you say? Well, I have something to say about that.
And then Batman goes after the guys who conveniently get on a window washer,
Yeah.
the scaffolding deal, and they escape on that. Well, that's because that's how they broke in, clearly. And then,
Well, you would
and
know.
yeah, I guess. So they. I forgot about that part, but that's it. And then then there's this odd drama of this thing going down, and then they break in trying to evade Batman. They stop it. It falls. Batman has nothing to do with them saving them or capturing them, really. They do it all themselves.
Themselves. Yeah. Knock themselves out.
They knock themselves out, and
And then they get away, and he goes,
and then they get away. It's wet. It's wet. That's all I can
I
say.
can't see through all these rain layers.
Oh, well, he has to go back and tend to Robin's wounds.
Right,
So
right.
that's what happens. That's what has. Yeah, that's it.
Robin's two grunts that are the same grunt sound used twice in a row.
Yes. Well, you can only afford so many grunts.
Okay, Lauren, can we get one more grunt? No.
It's over budget.
Your time's up. Yeah.
Kinda. No. We clearly didn't. We just needed another grunt after the fact, and we weren't going to ADR a grunt.
Right.
It's like the performance is fine. Everything sounded great.
Yeah.
But we need an extra grunt. We're going to pay him another
have one.
$1,000 for
Yeah.
one grunt. We got a grunt. We'll double it. So then we cut to the next act where we begin with a commercial being shot, and a brilliant and handsome director is.
He looks really good in red.
I
forgot to wear the red. Oh, I gotta go put on my red shirt.
I overestimated
camera.
when
Just pretend.
you showed up, because I said like, oh, here comes Dan. And then it cut to some lady like bringing Riddler his lines, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, not her."
But you hear, William Cat as me off camera. I only thought he had one line, but he had a bunch of lines.
He
was
says
just
a few
he's just
things,
off camera most of the time.
Yeah.
Where the Riddler's awfully rude to a child.
Yeah.
Not like that, you'll break it, you little son of a bitch. And then they're like,
Go back to where it all began, he says at the end of the commercial. Batman figures out that means that it's the Toy Fair Convention Center thing that where they almost nabbed him the first time. He goes there, lurks around, finds a big giant Jack-in-the-Box deal, cranks it, why would he do that? But
I know.
This couldn't be possibly
it could have just blown up,
Yeah.
but then it opens up and there's a screen and the Riddler's telling him all sorts of stuff and how hey, look up. And he didn't notice.
Yeah.
The massive dynamite.
World's greatest detective. Yeah.
I mean, it should have been in the box or something that's like, for whatever, maybe
inside the
something
TV.
But you know what? We're just going a mile a minute.
It's fine.
It's fine. He just didn't notice. It was dark.
Why didn't you have 30 years of hindsight when you were directing this
no
episode?
kidding, right? So yes, and then I think he only gets 10 seconds to die.
It's 10 seconds that is progressively slower counted. 3.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
But still, that was like audience member. That was actually some pressure.
Yeah. Brian felt
So then the place blows up, and Riddler's all happy, and I forgot the part. at the party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
sexy ladies
the sexy ladies
Riddler,
all over, and Batman, and that was a big important part because that reveals the little balls that are suspicious.
The radio
But
balls.
they turned out they're radio balls, which is
Riddler's suspicious balls.
It's radio balls.
I could go a little further with that, but I'm not
I know.
going. They're actually a two-way radio.
So yes, Batman is humiliated in front of his party there, and but the two-way radios are revealed, and so then later when Batman is presumed dead and exploded, and then shows up after the Riddler has destroyed his Riddler garb, because Batman's dead. There's no point having a Riddler anymore. Then he confesses accidentally.
Yeah.
and Batman conveniently has the same
I don't know
toy.
when he got that yet. Say it's the same time that he put the different coin in Two-Face's pocket in last episode.
Yeah.
We don't
That
know,
could
but
be.
just accept it. Yeah.
No, but that,
I mean, he could have bought those at any
That's
local
true,
toy store.
That's true. He just bought some,
Exactly. And so yes, and they put him away, and then he goes crazy because he doesn't know how Batman escaped. And then we ruin the episode by telling everybody how he escaped.
I remember, like, as a kid being really happy that you do get told, but also now watching it, the safe that he jumps into was not established like in any I could tell anyway, in any prior moment of the
right?
episode.
Yeah,
so,
there should have been a safe.
Yeah,
yeah.
I jumped inside
right?
the safe. Like, what safe?
He
What
focused,
are you talking about?
He focused more on the like Houdini escape tank.
Exactly. And clearly, it must have been there somewhere in a background,
Right.
but we just didn't showcase it, which is a mistake because you have to let people know.
Chekhov's safe, but there was also a safe there, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that that we're done, right? The episode's
let me really quick read the official synopsis, and then we can get into everything here. Upon his release from Arkham, the Riddler becomes an instant celebrity with his own line of toys and games. Soon, he's rich, well-liked, and happy, except for the fact that he's never managed to best Batman in a battle of wits. Realizing that he's still obsessed with beating the Dark Knight and that the obsession will lead to his downfall, the Riddler lures Batman into a death trap puzzle to get rid of his opponent and end the Riddler games.
Oh, that's a nice little non-spoiler.
So getting much better. The official
really
synopses used to be like, here's the entire episode. Here's what happened from beginning
what
to
I
end.
like about that is it talks about his motivation as to why he's doing something, which we didn't really do. It's all implied. It's all there, but you have to kind of read between the lines, and you have to know who he is to really get that. But it's clear because when he throws away the costume, it's like, that was why he did this whole thing. And this whole ruse was for that moment. He's just like leading Robin getting his leg broken, the whole deal, everything was leading to that one moment.
He couldn't have predicted Robin would get taken out of the equation, but then it worked for him very well.
Yeah. I mean, it would have ruined everything if Batman had figured out the Newman Ming Vaz thing before.
Yeah.
He flipped it upside down. 10 Leslie. Oh shit. But Brian, you're very right though. Is that my favorite Riddler episode, but also just like the only one that does it the way you expect a Riddler episode to be. Like it's handled really well.
Yeah.
When we're watching If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And What Is Reality? And both times we're like, the plot is the same thing. Riddler puts some guy in a game and Batman has to save him. And there's not a lot of complicated riddles with everything.
No, that's where we started calling him the punner.
The punner.
Because he was telling more puns, not actually riddles.
Exactly.
The hypothesis was that it's probably really difficult to write consistently convincing riddles.
No hypothesis. That's the reality. And that was the thing that was really frustrating for us because we loved John Glover. He was great. He was really fun to work with, and we would love to have used him more. But it was just so hard to write for the character. That's like what Batman is, the detective. And these are the times when he's actually detecting.
It didn't help that both previous Riddler episodes were also animated by not great animation companies versus this one.
This one had some pretty good character animation stuff.
Can you explain to me how you animate? Because you're big into the inventing different ways to do all the animation stuff. How is the rain done when the rain is 5 images of rain repeating, but the stuff underneath is continuing to move at a different pace?
Here is the deal. This is
because there's a lot of rain in this episode.
There's a lot of rain in this episode, and we had at that point a Warner Digital was getting started up, and they were doing effects for feature films.
Okay,
but they didn't have a lot of work yet, so they were doing a CG monster in the beginning of The Secret Garden. They were doing a few effects here and there for Warner Features, but they weren't being asked to do a lot yet. Mm-hmm. The guy who was in charge of that department, I mean, he really was invested in it. He insisted that we use the digital people to do effects. So I was the guy who did most of it, So I think I had more of their digital stuff because I kind of working with the guys. Most of that rain that you see, that's literally really fine rain that's kind of screwing in. Most of that was all them.
Okay. Yeah.
They could change a direction, and they could make it like fall down. They could do it.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, what happened was we couldn't afford to have it for every single scene. So we actually had them do their rain effect, the standard rain effect that they had overseas, and then we had them send all of those rain scenes without rain so that we could do it digitally.
Whoa.
But the problem was like when it's through a window, that was going to be a problem because of mats and all that stuff and overlay. So we left the rain from outside the window to be the original rain. And that's why there's a different consistency and the different textures of the rain, because there's like a rain effect that they use. And there's all sorts of different ways to do that. And I'm not sure exactly. I know it's double exposed, but I mean, there's places where they actually like film white paint against a black backdrop and they fake a rain thing and they film it and they cycle that and they overlay it. And there are places that do like a scratch film thing. I think that's what these guys were using. It was like some kind of like cells with like, and it was double exposed. So I think it was like a negative or something.
Brian's face is getting more and more astonished.
It's
the more
very
This is so cool.
very complicated.
Yeah.
And my only problem was they couldn't really change the direction. It was always, it's like left or right.
Right.
It wasn't like, we had up shots and down shots and all sorts of stuff where it just tends to look like crap if it's the exact same rain coming down all the time.
Your eyeballs start to recognize, like, I've seen that splatter before or whatever.
Yeah, those patterns.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed watching now that bothers me as a director.
You were just sitting there in your little chair with your megaphone. But the rain. Better rain, please.
But the thing that irritates me now is watching and there's no rain
hitting
puddles.
The ground. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind not having the splatters because that's really time consuming and expensive and stuff, but at least wet roads, it's like, come on. I mean, it's
we
raining.
know Dong Yang can do it. A couple episodes
the
ago, Rupert Thorne was splashing sweat everywhere while he's
it's like we could easily have added, and I think because we're like dealing with stock backgrounds and stock stuff, a lot of that was like you're trying to save money, so just adding an overlay of rain splatter was just extra nonsense. But here's the other thing that makes me mad also is there's shots of the Riddler looking out a window, and it's like, where's the rain on the glass? Oh, that would have been nice. And I'm like, oh, what an idiot.
That sounds way more complicated.
Because it is, but it's really cool looking when you do it right. Because there's so many times when the rain against a window can cause a really cool shadow, and you can use that. And we didn't really, take advantage of that as much. But believe me, it was hard enough just.
Oh yeah, I
mean, the actions and all that stuff.
Once we get into the later shows where everything's being digitally colored and effects and everything, I do miss a lot of these more analog approaches to things. But you can so much more easily, like, a character walking through a forest and you got all the speckled light through the leaves coming on him and stuff like that. That would be just so. I can't imagine cutting every frame differently around the character and all this stuff.
God.
Yeah.
I don't mean this is not a spoiler, but I think there's some bat signals that the digital people did.
Yeah.
Because there was a cool diffusion that they could do on the and we never really got that right. The ink and paint thing was like DX'd, but it never quite had that right diffusion. They didn't quite and you could do that with the digital stuff. That looked really cool.
Yeah.
Well, how long was a single episode roughly, like turnaround?
The digital effects took a really long time. I mean, within our budget and schedule and stuff, but it happened after the animation was done. Everything had to be, they had to composite onto stuff. So it was like during this whole process of waiting for the show to, get finished, and we're like, calling retakes and all that stuff. But 5-6 months to animate the thing.
Wow.
and then we'd have it for another 2 months after, like calling retakes and editing and then the music and stuff like that. It was like a huge, so it's like 7-8 months between like shipping a show or, getting it out. Cause we have it for a few months also working on it. Here we had like 4 weeks to board and then a few more weeks for revisions and stuff like that. So we'd have about, and timing and all that stuff. So
And after all that, still no apostrophe in the title card.
no apostrophe. I knew I was going to get this. I looked at it this time and it bothered me less than it has every single time. But I'm telling you one thing, the reason that it bothers me, the thing that sticks in my craw is that it was fixed. And we didn't get it done in time for the actual first shipment because it had to air on TV. And so you get the show's all done and you're watching it, and then and that's the last thing that gets done. So it's at the last minute somebody does that title card thing, and it was really very nice. And we're all, yeah, that's great. And I didn't see it before it went on to film, or I would have said something. I said something when I saw it on
all
video.
the Riddlers reform in this episode.
So when I saw that the apostrophe was missing, I was like, what? We got to fix this. And immediately they did it, but they couldn't do it in time for the first air. But the way that we worked back then at Fox, you deliver a show and you try to get it perfect. You don't get it perfect. You get it as you're waiting for a retake or whatever. The second airing will have retakes in. Usually you don't have to wait for the third airing. but the second time, usually you get a chance to cut in the retake and make it perfect in time for it. And sometimes there are issues of things that were cut out for some reason or another, and you have to use the second take because something had to be removed.
Interesting.
But unfortunately, the way that home video works is they've got that sort of collector mind, and they think like film archivist, and they don't think of like what the hell the producers want and what is the best version of the show. They only think of like, oh, the original everybody wants to see, and you're like, no, you don't understand. The show wasn't done, it wasn't completed. But they go for that all the time, and we're like, no, we don't want the first take. The first take is incomplete.
Bruce Timm needs to channel his George Lucas and be like, excuse me, I changed it like 6 times after that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, and now what ends up happening is that the later versions get like swept under the rug, and because the master is on film. Well, actually, they archive them on film as well, and those things. Even though they're digital effects and all this stuff, it's that 35 millimeter film. They've all been transferred to that, and that's and that's where that is now. And you're like, oh well, darn. The correction was a video insert. So
that's happened a few times so far, but it's never been like an egregious, I'm not saying the apostrophe is egregious. You should be ashamed. The only one I've noticed so far besides that was Robin's Reckoning. Batman has like a little like makeshift splint that he makes out of wood.
Oh yes,
and it's like a completely different length than I had ever seen it because it was like way too long originally or something. And
I remember that. Yeah, so we were calling retakes. That had a lot of retakes. That was the thing.
That's not even.
We had to let a couple of those go. Yeah. Well, the other thing that's weird is like the size relationship in the toys in this one. It's like there are all these little small ones, and then in the commercial, he's got this giant size version. But it's like, you know what? It's a commercial. It's okay, and it's a toy. They can have different sizes, but it just seems odd that it's like this big giant thing. You're like, dude, what?
You gotta be a genius.
This before we get too off of it, like this idea of retaking things and not showing the original. That kind of blows my mind. That changes my impression because I also had that same I think just consumer mentality of like, no, let's see the way it was originally meant to be.
Oh yeah.
And the first thing that reminds me of is like the whole Han shot first scene in Star Wars, where I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was actually a mistake and that's why they fixed it. And like here I am being like, that's all. That's ridiculous. Like, why did they change it from the original? But if that was a mistake that just went through. Right. Like, of course they're going to want to change it. And now I'm like, feel like I'm siding with the production companies more, being like, no. Let us know which version you want. I want to see that version.
Yeah. Exactly. That was the thing. It's like, I mean, it's great to have as an extra. It's fantastic to have as an extra. But it would be nice to see the original. In fact, I kind of want to go back and see, because I do remember seeing the original Rain that they had done. Oh yeah. The non-digital Rain, and I just see how awful that was.
Can I go off topic?
Whatever, man.
Sure.
Beetlejuice. I love that movie, and as a rambunctious little kid, I always loved the scene where he's in the cemetery yelling, and he like kicks over this tree, and it's just like it's a cheap model thing, so it falls over. Yep. And then he says, Michael Keaton looks at it, looks up, and says, "Nice fucking model," and he like grabs his junk and honks it, and that got cut from almost every version for decades. And my buddy was trying to find it on DVD and Blu-ray, and he'd buy a new one, he'd watch it, that scene, it would always be cut.
You're crazy that it never happened.
And then I don't remember where, but the last time I watched it, some streaming platform, I think, had it back in, and I was just like, oh, they're not going to show it, and they showed the nice fucking model out. Yeah.
That's the subtitle of the cut. The nice fucking model cut.
Yeah. I mean, it is like, it's super crude, it's super out of place, but like I loved it because I think it showed the extreme of him.
Yeah, exactly.
You had a question during Riddler's Reform, the episode we're talking about, where the lady comes up to Riddler at the party.
Oh my god, it looked like Brooke Shields.
Yes, but is that a thing, Dan? Was that modeled after anyone, or is it just Bruce Timm sexy lady?
Ronnie Del Carmen sexy lady, actually.
Okay.
In this case, and
artist on the show,
because he storyboarded, but he on this one, and he helped with character designs too. He did the preliminary Baxter, and he did one of the he did the thugs actually, and one of the thugs. And I don't know if they were both based on board artists. I'm not sure if the big bald guy was supposed to be Lorenzo, like maybe, and actually the other one was supposed to be my assistant. My PA was Steve Kindernay, and it's supposed to be a caricature of him.
That's cool.
One thing I noticed in this episode that I hadn't actually caught before, and I wonder if we did this on purpose. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. The BS&P had rules about like breaking glass. Characters can't go through glass, right? And yet, when they're in the weapon that these guys are using on Batman, it's like they're picking up plates of glass and throwing them at Batman. So it's like, so you can't go through glass, but apparently glass can go through you.
That's okay. Yeah. I thought you were gonna bring up the like boing sound that happens when the lady starts walking up to Riddler.
Well, there was some of that.
That was extreme.
That was a little extreme. I was like, oh man, we went there. Okay.
Brian went, what? When it happened?
Well, it was like, I don't know, the episode did have that kind of like very 50s air. The commercials were very 50s, and that I feel like that was kind of in kind. With it.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of it was Adam West Batman-y, like, but not in a like cheesy campy way. It was just like the kind of vibe. You're constantly cutting back to Wayne Manor, where Bruce and Dick in their plain clothes are walking around going, let's solve the funny thing together. And it was just a very like as soon when Batman if Act 1, I want to say, fades out with Bruce going, the First National Bank. Yeah. And I'm like, that's an Adam West like deduction right there.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's also like, that's how you end an act.
Yeah.
Really? It's just like, oh, he's gonna do something.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, exactly.
Carol, it's just it's the reveal of a crime.
Yeah.
It's an interesting what a cliffhanger.
Everyone gasps. There's a bad guy in this episode? I had no idea. Yeah.
But I do remember Bruce's note saying first act lacks action. Not the board, but the original, and they did something to the beginning to kind of give it more of a feel of something. But he's right. The first act still lacks action. Lacks action, or it acts action, whatever.
They're good spoonerism.
I'm trying to, Hey, good use of spoonerism.
Thank you.
I think maybe the only action is just them fighting the guys at the loading dock or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
For like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and that's barely a fight. So
What adventures of Batman and Robin.
But it plays
conversations of
but it works as a Riddler episode.
Yeah, it really
does.
Like, because his is like, it's action of the mind. I don't know. That's cheesy.
Exactly. No, No, but it's true. It's true, though. I mean, when we make up for it with the big, with the being, the glass being thrown at them, and the window washer, box thing almost collapsed.
That was the moment that I noticed rain wasn't on the ground. Was when they slam it in the ground and it pans down, and I was like, "Oh, are there going to be little splashes?" And there wasn't.
Right.
I was disappointed, and I shut the video off. And
I know, disgusted.
Staring at so much VFX editing stuff all the time, I was kind of clocking the digital rain had just a hint of like aliasing around the edges, like digital aliasing, and it was especially apparent in that shot you're talking about, and my brain immediately went to, well, because they had to render it out like 3 different times, back and forth. Of course, there's going to be, and then I was like, I hate that I know this. I just want to watch Batman.
Takes away the magic.
I mean, in hindsight, I wish that they had diffused it a little bit. They weren't really sharp.
Yeah.
They looked like little. It looked
video
more like
game rain.
It looked more like sleet or something than rain, because it was just a little sharp.
I did like, though, it being digital. There's some shots where it has like Z depth, like it's going away from the camera.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it also does a thing where some of it kind of like it drifts, and it was a really cool program.
There's a lot to talk about with the rain in this episode.
Well, I mean, there's so much of it, but it's interesting as well, putting that into like that was probably like the start and end of like a hybrid situation, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure there was more like, hand-drawn animation that incorporated more digital, but there was a point where it was just all digital.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. And so I imagine it was even harder
before that.
to make this
exactly.
happen.
That hybrid thing was weird because they'd have to like digitize the film and then undigitize it. They had to transfer it back to film again.
Yeah.
A lot of AD conversions there.
That was
sometimes that works really well, where it looks a lot more like it belongs in the space, but then there are other times like this where it's like, God, that looks terrible. No. Well, but my thought is, there is so much rain. Is there any sort of like, I might be thinking too hard because I always am, metaphorical nature to the rain, of like trying to see through the fake riddle to see the real riddle? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Randy, for your contribution.
Okay, well, speaking of Randy, I do want to get into like the writing.
Riddler was kind of Randy in this episode.
A little bit. But like, again, it just something that we talked about last time, or one of the last Riddler episodes, and something that I was just so personally upset about, and something I think that we've kind of clued in on in this one, is just the idea of like, you have to be at least as smart as the Riddler is suspecting to be to write a script like that. And again, this is just this is the first time where I'm like, thank God we finally have like Bruce is hyper intelligent, Riddler's hyper intelligent. They're actually making some like crazy, like even like the minutia of here's your riddle. Nope, of course it's not as black and white as it seems. He turns the map over, so turn the riddle, the coordinates over.
Exactly.
It's
genius. If it had been Adam West, it would have been the first thing, you know.
Oh, at best.
If it was the other,
it would have been a
episodes.
note dropped on the floor that said the address.
Yeah.
We're going. Bad guys will be here. What a riddle.
Yeah. Was Randy wrote? So he wrote Robin's Reckoning and Riddler's Reform. Was he required to write episodes only with his initials as the title?
You know what? That could be subliminal.
He's just drawn to like, I think this one will be good.
I really like alliteration with R's.
Yeah. Well, he wrote the Mr. Freeze movie, but that doesn't have R's in it. Yeah.
Batman and Mr. Freeze
Zero,
Rub Rero. Also starring Scooby-Doo. Let's talk about the cast of this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, let's.
I'm going to go down the list. Most of them are returning, or at least half of them are. Kevin Conroy as Batman, of course. We press the applause button that Dan can't hear, that I'm also having a really hard time pressing for some reason. Lauren Lester as Robin. Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon. John Glover as Riddler. We have Patricia Alice Albrecht as Brenda, who was the brown-haired sexy lady.
I swear she was Brooke Shields.
Brooke Shields,
I know, right?
I guess it makes sense. Like, it has to make sense for the scene, but Riddler opens the doors, and dozens of people that presumably have never been in the same room with Batman, or even maybe assumed Batman wasn't real until this point, are just going, idiot! And we're just like, really? That is your reaction? Not, oh shit, what, really, Batman? Like, fuck, I didn't think you, like,
Batman's real. And he's a fool!
He's a moron.
But that's the thing, is that it's a cartoon.
Hey, man, come on.
No, I'm kidding. That's the worst answer I could give.
So this Patricia Albrecht was the narrator on the Sailor Moon TV movie from 1994. Additional voices on 42 episodes of Snorks. Last thing I have is she was in 61 episodes of Gem as Pizzazz and Anne.
That's truly outrageous.
It sure is. Mary Devon as Summer Gleason. I think she was in like one scene. William Catt as Zowie is who he's credited as.
Yes,
Zowie is one of the thugs.
That was a very callback to Adam West Batman thing. Because that was always the ouch.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The Zowie was.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
He played Tommy Ross in The Carrie.
Okay.
And Hawkman on Batman Brave and the Bold. Those are my two things. What do you got?
Your two things?
Those are my two things.
William Catt?
Yeah.
The greatest American hero?
So I write down things that either I think the younger than us mostly demographic that listens to the podcast, or the older than me, Brian, that is in the podcast will find interesting. But go for it.
What was he in?
The greatest American hero.
I don't know what that is.
Ralph Hinckley, who gets a costume from the Aliens to fight crime with Robert Culp. You've never seen this show?
No, I think you're making this up.
Stephen J. Cannell, like he created this thing after the A-Team and stuff, and it was like his take on superheroes.
What?
He included Superman's origin from Super Friends in the pilot episode, and then DC sued.
Oh, wow.
The gimmick is that he lost his instruction manual from the aliens, and so he doesn't know how to control the suits. He can fly, but he doesn't know how to land. He doesn't fly well. He doesn't. It's like all over the place. So he's always screaming when he's flying. And that was the compromise with DC was like, well, he doesn't know what he's doing, so he's like, okay, he can never learn to fly. And they were like, okay. So they use the same stock footage, whereas George Reeves is always like the stock footage is always like
it's the same rain over and over again.
Okay, I want to see this show now.
It's a really cool show. It's a really cool show. It is cool.
This guy played Zowie?
Oh, and he played Zowie.
And Zowie.
Yeah. No, but he was great in Carrie. He also played young Butch Cassidy in young Sundance in the Butch and Sundance the prequel movie.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
He looks a lot like Robert Redford actually, which is like Robert Redford with big curly hair.
The other thug, Manny, voiced by Robert
Pastorelli, who was a regular on Murphy Brown.
Okay. I got my list, you got yours. you can add to the list. I have him as Vinny in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Okay. And there's that.
He's in one episode of Night Court, which I only ever include because Brian grew up watching Night Court.
Yeah, that's what
he knew
Robert Mole.
Richard Mole.
Yeah. Or Richard, sorry.
Yeah, Richard.
He's Tony in Fern Gully. And Sergeant Louie in Mother Goose, a Rappin' and Rhymin' Special. I don't know what that is, but I had to include it.
I gotta see
ridiculous.
that now.
That's a good. Yeah, we'll put that on the watch list. Wait, can we talk about Gotham?
Are you about to ask Dan how there are 10 million people living in Gotham City?
Dan, we got a question for you.
It was, what episode was that?
It was a couple, 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Oh, it was Harlequinade.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mayor makes mention of Gordon is trying to get him to evacuate all of Gotham, and the mayor says, I can't evacuate 10 million people.
10 million people.
So that's what we said. And we had this
You were
idea.
like, what's the population of Manhattan? Oh, 1.6 million.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
What is...
So where are all 10 million
where are
people?
the rest of the people?
Because Gotham is pretty abandoned for 10
You know,
million.
here's what how I
It's a
take
cartoon.
that. No, that was Mayor Hill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
My defense was he of all people would know, but that's a better one. Yeah.
He doesn't know. Those
His
are just all the votes those are all the votes he paid off. You know?
Yeah. That's what he's aware of.
Okay, this is the most amazing thing that I want to be canon. Is that he just has no idea the population's 100,000. He's like 10 million.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can't evacuate that many people. I won't even try.
Trump's inauguration.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh man.
Gotham would have to be like the entire East Coast list. It'd be like New York and Chicago and Detroit and everything all combined, you know?
Where exactly is Gotham? Because you have like Gotham, you have the hills and the forests, you have like the Southwest, the American Southwest.
The
canyons of Gotham.
Yeah.
It's a little bit nebulous.
It's like Duckburg. It's wherever.
Yeah.
Whatever fits.
Race cars, lasers,
Airplanes.
Yeah.
Last on the cast, we've got Peter Mark Richmond as Charles Baxter.
Yeah.
I have him down as most notably 51 episodes of Defenders of the Earth as the Phantom. But he was also old Spider-Man in one episode of the 90s Spider-Man animated series.
Right.
And Andrew Laird on Dynasty. The last thing I have is he was Charles McCulloch in Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which I only ever include these for Maddie.
Okay, that's actually a good movie. You should watch that one.
It's entertaining. I had to watch all of them in real time as I screen recorded them for our Freddy vs. Jason timeline video, now available on the Watchtower Database YouTube channel.
Apparently, he was on Star Trek, the pilot.
Yeah.
He's the one who's like, he's kind of like Space Pimp or something.
Brian doesn't know like any Star Trek, so I never include the Star Trek ones. But
Yeah, sorry.
What?
That's a blind spot for me.
What?
Yeah.
Let's start another podcast.
Me and Dan doing the Star Trek podcast. Just introducing Brian to Star Trek. That would be
Jump on the
Enterprise Wagon.
Enterprise Wagon.
Oh, let's get into some trivs on
Let's start
Riddler's Reform.
Sure.
We talked about the boing sound. When Batman asks Riddler what he has in the box, he says, "None of your business." And Batman says, "I'm making it my business." This is exactly what was said by Earl Cooper and the Penguin in The Mechanic.
What?
Probably not on purpose. Although I think Randy did write The Mechanic. So maybe
maybe it's a riddle.
Yeah, he's got, I'm making it my business as a backup. Yeah.
Batman and Matt. There were a couple times where I was like, "Oh no, is Brian gonna think this is really like cheesy and dumb?" When Batman like looks to the sky and remembers a thing from earlier, because that happens a couple times in this episode.
Yeah.
And then you stayed completely silent, and I was like, "Yes."
Well, it was one of those like I guess
you have to see him flip the thing to remember.
The only critical thing for me, or the thing that I was really thinking about commenting on, was just like, wow, his recall is like immaculate.
Perfect, yeah. Except that he remembers a different take of John Glover saying "I'm a new man" or whatever. Like it's not the same.
Oh,
like,
really?
He goes like "ha ha ha" at the end. I'm like, he did not do that. Batman, come on.
That's hilarious. We're probably supposed to be the same take.
Oh, maybe the original didn't use the.
God.
Yeah.
Can remind me? I want to go back to the whole second. Speaking of additional takes.
Yeah, the Two-Face Second Chance episode we just watched had a flashback to
which is
Two-Face.
amazing.
It had a flashback to the Two-Face origin, and Kevin Conroy redoes his Harvey. No, like way better this time than the first time, and we're like, because he had like 2 years of more episodes practice.
Yeah, that's true, because that was an early episode.
Yeah.
That was the thing. My one beef with that episode is as perfect as it is, and it's really perfect.
Yeah.
I had wanted more Harvey Dent before we got Two-Face.
That's what we said too.
And that was my only beef is like we only saw him in the first episode, and then in
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy, and that's it. But
so why would they bother to reanimate and re-record something it's literally just supposed to be a flashback? Why, with all the time constraints and everything?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes
my thought
it's
I don't know if there's any behind the scenes of like, you can't use footage from a different animation company. You still own the thing, but that might be it. I don't know.
You're probably closer to reality there. It makes it awkward. Yeah, exactly right. I think it just makes it difficult sometimes. It's easier to not just reuse the footage, to actually and sometimes, the quality of the animation, you don't know what you're going to get, and it stands out. It's really different. So you're almost like, shoot yourself in the foot by showing this clip from this fantastic episode if the animation is sort of like, okay.
Sure.
And it really stands out as something different. And then, you may have to pay those people for the rights to you, or, that studio again for that footage or something. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I know that works with voices. You can't just reuse a voice from a different show. If that character's not in the show, you have to pay them.
That's why Lauren could only do one grunt in this episode.
Well, that's why Alfred doesn't scream in pain when he's holding that carafe in that weird way.
The coffee pot that he's pouring or whatever at the end.
No,
he's just
that's the one that really bothers me.
I forgot about that.
Obviously, Bruce Wayne likes iced coffee.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Because what happened was, in the board, he had a different pot, and in order to save labor, we had the other one in stock, and that was pulled up, and I didn't get a chance to see and approve that. That just kind of went through. And so the animators just sort of like took that action, because it was like, even that would have been wrong, but it feels a little bit like, if you're dealing with like a big ornate, like, thing, it feels a little less, if he's holding it, helping himself hold it. But in this case, if it's just a glass thing, it's like plastic.
He's really dedicated to his craft. He's like people at restaurants carry around the hot plates all the time. You get used to it.
It's like Alfred's got, calloused hands.
His hand is one giant callus. More coffee, sir. God.
The one also, by the way, the one thing that also, like, besides the glass throwing bit that I thought was kind of funny, that BS&P didn't go like, hey, is he gets into a safe at the end.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, talk about imitatable behavior.
I
wonder if they're still like, when is this, in 94? If there's still kids
stuck in
safes that are stuck in a safe.
Finally.
After, whatever, how many years now? 30 something, 29 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, never got a kids don't try this at home. Because I'd like Robin to go, and how'd you get out?
The explosion blew off the safe door. It was not a great idea.
It melted the hinges. I just had to push a little bit. That was actually one of my thoughts too, was like, what happened if that locked?
Yeah,
he's Houdini. I mean, he knows how to get out of stuff. It's like, he trained with Zatara. He knows how to get out of that stuff.
Sure.
And they always go, oh, well, safes are locked in a way that you can't get in, but you can get out. And I'm like, no, that's not true.
No, that's car trunks.
Exactly.
Moving on, we got the newspaper article headlining Riddler's parole, says that he has been released for good behavior. Behavior is how the word with a O-U-R. So it's like it's a British like English version of behavior.
Good.
Didn't clock it.
I wonder if whoever did that must have been. I don't think we had any Brits on the crew at that point.
Behavior with an apostrophe.
But it might have been a Canadian.
What was the other Riddler's commercial? It said like antiques, antucum or something underneath it.
I didn't know about that one.
Brian's favorite thing watching any of these, there'll be some like dramatic cars chase happening. You're really supposed to be like invested, and he'll be like, Jules.
I know.
Yeah, I really like Zoles over Zales.
Yeah.
That made me giggle.
Yes.
Maybe you can confirm this one. The Wacko Toy Company may be a nod to the famous Whammo Toy Company, maker of Frisbee and
Yes,
the hula hoop.
absolutely, absolutely.
Robin mentions that the box the Riddler has is similar to the one he used to trap Commissioner Gordon in What Is Reality, which was called a Baxter's Box. Assuming it was named after its creator, the Baxter's Box is likely Charles Baxter of Wacko Toys.
Wow,
Well, there
yeah,
you
so
go.
it comes full circle.
Well, who knew that was gonna? That's that's cool. Probably intended
Not planned, yeah. Antique dealer claims a Ming vase from the 3rd century was stolen. This is not possible. The Ming dynasty was from the 14th to 17th century, at least 1,100 years later.
Time travel.
Kronos got a hold of the Ming vase, yeah.
Exactly.
He stole it and put it in his garage. Brian doesn't understand any of this. Anyway, the last thing I have is maybe you have any input on this, but the Riddler, we talked about this in Trial. The Riddler showed up in Trial, and someone in the comments mentioned, like, that's weird. Last time we saw Riddler, his brain was fried from the video game. How did that happen or whatever? And so Riddler returns after the events of What Is Reality. However, no explanation is given to how he recovered from his virtual reality accident. 12 episodes remain of btas after this, though this is the Riddler's final appearance on the show.
Oh,
According to Paul Dini in the Batman animated book, there were at least half a dozen full or partially completed Riddler stories in our dead script file that proved ultimately too complex or silly to produce.
Right.
What Is Reality writer Marty Eisenberg shared on Batman the Animated Podcast that there were a couple where the Riddler tried to logic his way into figuring out Batman's identity, one where a clue to his whereabouts involved the Pythagorean theorem, and one that would have revealed how the Riddler woke up from his coma, which I have a quote about. But any of those ring a bell otherwise, Dan, that you never came
that's
across
that's
them?
all writer room stuff that the learning his identity. I seem to remember some talk about that. I do remember somebody talking about that at some point. But yeah,
I mean, that of any of the rogues, I guess that makes sense for him to be the one to try to deduce that, other than maybe Joker or something. But
yeah.
I feel like Joker wouldn't be that driven.
He wouldn't care. Yeah.
But Riddler, for Riddler, that would be like specifically his MO. You know, he's like, what is this final riddle?
Yeah.
This is his last episode?
It's not his last time appearing, but it's his last, like, it's a Riddler episode.
And
that's that's
ever.
such a sad way, because the voice.
How did he do it?
Yeah, the voice acting of him, like, that was really that was really like really poignant and really impactful, and he was just
so
losing
good.
it.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Glover is awesome.
So this episode was, I think it aired in some sort of Toonami block of just like top, like you online voted for your favorite Batman episodes, and this aired in the block of them that I remember watching and thinking, like, this is great, like, I love this episode, I can't wait to see more Riddler episodes. And then no, actually, you already saw the best one. Peak.
I'm glad I at least got this, because I was so let down by the other ones, and this is just like, this is stunning.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I mean, I my very first when I first started directing, I had to do layouts for What Is Reality.
Yeah. You did the split apart.
I did the split apart stuff. Yeah, which was fun, which is cool to do. But I wanted the series to be more rooted in the 40s,
right?
And so once you get virtual reality, you're kind of like, wait, everyone has a black and white TV. They went right to like virtual reality from black and white TV. You know, it's just, I mean, it's like, we should have had like big pneumatic, the old betas,
just a command prompt that he's typing stuff into.
Because it just, that was my one beef with that episode was just like, I kind of wish we had stayed more rooted in a simpler technology that only Batman has.
He should be the one. Yeah. So this how Riddler woke up from his coma. This is Marty Eisenberg, the What Is Reality writer. He said, I in particular was trying to come up with a kind of sequel to What Is Reality, where we wake up the Riddler from his coma. I never really worked it out, but the idea was that it was going to be almost a combination of Awakenings and Silence of the Lambs. The idea was
Whoa.
that there are these Riddler crimes going on while the Riddler's in a coma, so it can't possibly be him. But they need him to help catch the real criminal. Something's at stake. There's some ticking clock. Half of Gotham's going to blow up or something. The idea was that the only thing he was responding to was Batman. That would get him to move, or it would get the brainwaves or whatever. What the Riddler had been doing was surreptitiously hypnotizing the staff and the doctors and giving them post-hypnotic suggestion, so he was actually making them commit the crimes, and then the finale was that he'd hypnotized Batman, and Batman was committing the crimes, and somehow he would thwart him in some TBD way. But I could never quite get it to feel complete. It was a great idea, but I couldn't figure out how to execute it. It drove me crazy because I really wanted to do it.
Damn.
Wow. That is a cool idea.
Yeah.
But that goes exactly what we were saying, is like, in order to write somebody that smart, you have to be at least that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to say that writer isn't.
Sure.
But like, it's just, that's truly like, that's
it's
difficult.
one of those like, oh man, I really wish we could see that, but it'll just kind of be my like head canon of like, that's how he got out. There was a thing we didn't see.
What's funny is that there's a Kolchak episode with the guy who's sleeping. He doesn't hypnotize people, but he manifests a creature. It is very much like an id monster, kind of like Forbidden Planet.
The Shining. Yeah. Well, that's all the tribs that I got. So.
Okay.
Let's do what we always do in this, where we talk about keen effects in the episode.
We've talked about rain. What we didn't talk about was the that fire in the trash can.
Oh yeah,
that
the very first shot or whatever. Yeah,
that was cool. There's a really good glow. Some guy held over a trash can fire, trying to warm himself.
Oh, yeah.
And he had this like there was like the breathing glow of a fire.
Yes, yeah, and that was just what they call their bottom light. It's a mat that's cut in black paper. You cut out it's black cell, but usually they use paper because they waste time, And then cells were expensive in Asia, so you would trace it out, and then it goes on to the animation cell. They put a gel on it to give it a color, and they light it from below. The camera takes a shot, and they, depending on the filter, it diffuses it, and it so you see how much diffusion it is, and that's
so into this. Yeah.
That's how
oh my
laser
God.
beams and things like that were done. It's like
I just love as a lover of analog photography, and
I know.
as like someone who's like kind of like flirting with the idea of being a maker and like building lots of things. I love that. Like, I mean, it's practical effects, right? Like, it's theatrical, captured on film. I love this.
And the thing, we used to use it. We used to be our go-to all the time, and then we'd see like CMS shows where you're like, how did we get that fire to glow and it's not double exposed? And they just did it with paint. They just figured out colors that popped and felt like glowy.
Man, that's wild.
This feels glowy. I'll go with that. Yeah.
But and then there's another way of doing a similar thing, because we were like coming up with like different streaking effects and stuff for Superman and beams and heat vision, and apparently there's a way that you can do it less expensively by double exposing at a higher exposure, which is like, you're like, oh, it's 100%. But what if you shoot it at 150%? It's actually brighter and hotter than it should be. That's right, overexposing, so you have it black, so it's still black, and you put the cell of whatever it is, so it's cell paint, but it blows up because it's overexposed, and then you hit the filter and it goes, and it looks exactly the same as the bottom lit thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I learned that while I was working on Superman.
I mean, come on, Dan, you definitely shot film at some point, like photography.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever spend time in a dark room?
Yeah. At SVA and in high school also.
Okay. So did you ever push your film?
Push my film.
So that's like if you're shooting like Ilford HP5 or something like that, like Kodak, like Tri-X, and it's 400 speed on the film, you like shoot it in camera at ISO 800 or ASA or ISO 1600, and it gives you that, like, you get kind of a punchier, like all of your highlights get more punchy, get more contrast out of it.
No, I haven't done that. That's what that sounded like to me. It's just like, oh yeah,
you're just
but that's what
it
is.
And I'm Brian.
Sorry, Jamie.
No, you're good. I like this. This is good. This is why we get Dan. Are there any other keen effects in this episode that we can think of? There's fire guy and there's the rain throughout the whole thing. We were talking in previous episodes about like there's it's starting to get kind of like you all know what you're doing and are trusting the animation companies and all this stuff much more than at the start of the show. So there's not as much experimental like. Oh, that one thing that sticks out. It's just all across the board, like very on model, very good.
Well, I tell you, there's kind of things where we took a chance where we're just kind of like, there's a lot of times I noticed where Batman was blue and black, where we just went silhouette on him. And we didn't do that very often, where it's like it's very comic book kind of coloring, where it's like we just kind of like, what's his color scheme? Who cares? He's blue and black now, you know. and there's like, wow, that's I mean, not just the cape, like his body, everything is
that
like
shot
blue
of
and black.
him in front of the window holding the radio, and where he's just a silhouette and he like turns like that's a really cool shot.
That was a nice straight silhouette, and also. That timing with the lightning.
Oh my god!
That was
lightning timing.
That was like impossible.
I'm leaving now. I hope there's a lightning flash. Hell yeah!
But it was still like, yeah, of course, like it's a cartoon, whatever. That was a really cool. That's a really cool exit. I wish I could do that.
Well, you know, and also it's like a big ass cheat. How do we get him out that window? Lightning?
If nobody else can see, it doesn't matter. There's like one guy in the back at the party going, I saw him leave. I blinked. It was fine.
My eyes are closed. I missed the lightning, but I saw him go out.
Yeah, I saw it.
You know? But that was that was I think I'm pretty sure that we manipulated that in editing. That whatever came back, we kind of like played with that and added some frames and did the DX of it fading off.
Wait, what is DX? You said this before.
Oh, double exposure.
Oh, okay.
Prescription.
Yeah.
That's RX, Jamie. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, same thing.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Okay, Batman's usefulness in this episode. We rate it 1 to 10. We give it based on an object from the episode. I don't know. He did pretty damn good. He solved all the stuff.
Yeah.
And he beat the Riddler at the end.
Yes. I'll give him a pretty high rating in this one. I think I'm going to give him an 8.2. You know,
So wait.
Yeah.
So but did he plan then to explode?
But he escaped from exploding.
Did he plan all that? Okay, but
he didn't explode.
Okay, 7.8. I'll knock it down a couple pegs for that.
Because it's like he seems like he's kind of behind but he's ahead of the game, and then it's you know, and then of course, you know, it's like he had to survive in order to catch the Riddler in his own game.
Yeah. Okay.
And
7.8.
so I guess he was ahead of the game there.
I'll give him 7.8 Riddler radio balls.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that I'm gonna do 8.2.
Oh, okay.
Deflating Riddler blow up dolls. Out of 10.
Dan, you got a rating for us?
No, I
think on the spot right now. That's what we do all the time. What we can do is suggest items to you, and then I'll cut out all the suggestions from the edit, and we'll just pretend like you came up with
his pyramids.
Yeah, his little.
That's it. You got 8.5 out of 10 little pyramids.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. The trick is I won't cut out any of that.
I don't know how. I still can't figure out what that puzzle. I mean,
I can't.
How does that even work?
The Monopoly guy doesn't get it
a
either.
triangular Rubik cube. I can't picture the geometry of even how that would even work.
I had that same question. I'm like, okay, if it spun, but then because it would be if it's pyramids. Yeah. I had a hard time with it.
The other thing was like we really couldn't Rubik it at all. I mean, we were going to do different colors, and they were like,
"It's too close."
No.
Yeah.
A, it's too close, and B, it's like, how are we going to track this in animation?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It would.
I was already impressed by the kind
nightmare.
of the like 3D angle of the triangle turned 45 degrees on the other triangle.
Yeah. No, they did that, but.
I can't figure out this blasted thing. Well, good thing that's the only shot of you trying to do it. Here it is, perfectly solved. It's just a triangle.
Yeah.
Cleverly,
The
like,
riddle man.
Yeah, he just kind of squashes it and makes it. There it is.
Yeah. I wish we had just gone for a little more like on the nose graphics for the commercials, though. I think on hindsight, I think that the commercials feel a little retro, but I also feel like they could have been more retro, a little bit more slinky ad or something. More like a Whammo ad. If you look at those old ads for the Frisbees or the Super Bowls, it's like Whammo was like so crazy. They were like, kids, Whammo, Whammo, Whammo.
Yeah, the Riddler.
It's like billions and bubbles.
This is
it's
me.
like it was like really high energy and crazy. And this is just like, they're just so soft. And, it's like, we have this and we have, it's like, nobody did ads like that. It's like, you were really
hello, children. It's me, Mr. the Riddler.
Yeah.
I was not expecting him to pop his head through the like
question
paper
mark.
or the question mark.
Yeah. Although that was cool. I do seem like he was having trouble.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Boom.
Only get one take of this. It's live. Okay. Dan, we asked this last time of you of Zatanna when you were here, and I will again not tell you because we don't know what it means either. Do you think this episode was books or hip hop?
Books or hip hop?
Mm-hmm.
Books.
Are you leaning more books? Yeah, okay. I think so too.
I was thinking books as well.
Yeah. Are we putting this on the top 10, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
That's nice. Oh, that's nice. See, it's not my place
Don't
to
tell
say.
him that we're going to take it off when he's not.
No. I
know. It's like, believe me, these things are really very, very mutable.
No, I was looking at the list earlier.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know exactly where it's going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we just put Second Chance on this.
We did. Second Chance just ended
Second
up.
Chance is a great episode.
It ended up on my fifth place.
Even though I forgot what it was. When
I was going to say, I wasn't going to mention.
I got the title confused.
You
and
thought
I was like,
it's never too late. And I'm like, how could it's never too late in Second Chance? Oh, that does mean the same thing.
Yeah.
You're going to read yours again?
Yeah,
we just did that, but
my list from 10 to 1 is Shadow of the Bat, parts 1 and 2. I'm just going to read this like normal.
You're trying to read the normal titles.
I am.
Yeah.
Beware the Great Ghost, POV, Pretty Poison, Joker's Favor, Second Chance, Almost Got Him, Robin's Reckoning Part 1, Feet of Clay Part 2, and Heart of Ice is my number 1. But I am going to... Yes?
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not going to question your list.
No, please do. Please question Brian's list at all times.
No. Finish. Sorry, let me let you finish.
Is it because On Leather Wings isn't on there?
Well, there's that. It's
Thank
also,
you.
But also Robin's Reckoning Part 2?
Part 1.
Oh, Part 1. Oh, okay. I didn't hear right.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was Robin's Reckoning Part 1 and Feet of Clay Part 2.
Bingo. There you go. That is the correct equation.
People get mad at us for putting only like one or the other part on the list.
Sorry.
Back
then, yeah. There's episodes that are just like, they just stand out.
Yeah.
It's like the first Two-Face episode.
Yeah.
The second one is a great episode.
I have Two-Face Part 1 on my list,
but
it
it just
Part 2.
it isn't as strong as it just, you can't follow that up as perfectly, it's just like,
I think Randy wrote Two-Face and Robin's Reckoning, like both parts of both, so now it's a good thing there wasn't a Riddler's Reform Part 2, or else it would suck.
Well, getting onto this list, I'm going to take Shadow of the Bat off, which
because that was your number 10.
We hardly knew ye, and I'm actually going to put this in position number 4. Right after Robin's Reckoning Part 1 and right before Almost Got Him.
You're just so happy you finally got your Riddler
episode. I'm so happy with it.
Yeah. So now On Leather Wings isn't on your list.
So let me read my list to you.
I get it though. It's a monster. It's not a typical Batman.
This is the thing.
You know.
Brian has this running gag of not understanding how, like, of hating On Leather Wings or whatever, just to like annoy me. We're already planning on rewatching our top 10s when this is all over. And, and Brian will see. Brian will understand.
I think so. But the thing is, like, it was the first episode, and for me, again, I tend to be someone who's got more of a, like, how do you say that?
Well, so we had the first episode we watched was the Cat in the Claw Part 1 because it was the first.
That was the first one that technically aired. Yeah.
But then we watched On Leather Wings. And obviously, when you were both building the top 10, when we haven't even watched 10 episodes, it's going to be on there. I think you just had your like, oh, this is better than the one other episode I've seen. But then you started watching Heart of Ice and all this other stuff that you were like, nah, Man Bad, I don't care.
But to be fair, like it still like emotionally didn't impact me. And that's a lot. Like you talk about how like the art style is something that like drastically
affects me.
Yeah, your list. And for me, like I love the art, but that's kind of like it's more of like the storyline, which is why this one for me is like it's so high, and it's also because I wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to watch On Leather Wings again. Like I'll be excited to see it, and like you know, I know you're gonna be questioning like, oh, is this
gonna be looking back and forth the whole time? Yeah.
But you know, I stand by this list is as mercurial as we are. And
well, the thing about On Leather Wings said that like it although we had some spectacular TMS animation with the Clayface episodes and the Jonah Han. Oh yeah, did you get there yet?
Oh my God! Take your headphones. You heard part of someone's name.
Yeah. For a non-TMS episode, you know, On Leather Wings is just like so well animated. It is so strong.
Yeah.
And the company that did it actually went under because of it. They overdid the cell count. They actually over animated the thing.
They
were able to do phenomenal work.
Yeah.
Spectrum, They were able to do phenomenal work throughout the series because, you know, you'll see elements of them like on other upcoming episodes.
Kevin Altieri just put out like a show reel of his stuff and the swooping blimp man-bat shots on there. Like,
I mean, that is a great shot.
Yeah.
It's a great shot. Yeah.
Swooping blimp man-bat shots on my top 10, but it's my top 10 here. I'm going to also try to read the real names. Brian changes some of the names on me.
It's a shared Google Doc, and I'm a fool, so I'm just always messing with the names.
Okay. In reverse, I've got 10, Beware the Grey Ghost, then Shadow the Bat, parts 1 to 2, through 2, as I like to say. Man Who Killed Batman, Second Chance, Almost Got Him, Heart of Ice, Two-Face Part 1, Feet of Clay Part 2, On Leather Wings, Robin's Reckoning Part 1. Is that a respectable list to you, Dan?
That's fine. That's fine. I'm good with that.
Got a couple Dan Ribas on there, I think.
I don't. It don't matter. I have my hands in everywhere.
That's true. You probably designed characters for some of these. Yeah. So I don't know where I'm going to put it. I know I'm going to put it on here though.
Okay.
I think I'm going to put it under Second Chance.
Okay.
But that does bump Beware the Grey Ghost off of my list, which is a little depressing. But that's okay.
I love that episode, but I do think that the animation is a little bit.
It's weird.
It's weird. It's weird. Junio, I think they were a really great Japanese studio, and they had done a lot. Or Jade, I don't know. I forgot what
it was. One that's like erroneously credited. Like it's like oh, it's this one, but they actually gave it to somebody else. I can't remember. Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I remember when that episode came back. Bruce wasn't crazy about the animation. Kevin was like, "This is the best episode ever."
The start of it, the black and white, like
it looks
Grey
very
Ghost
animated.
Real stuff.
What happens is there's stuff that's off model where it was like the gloves have extra wrinkles and all this stuff that Bruce has rules. If you've seen these shit, don't do this, don't do that, and they did so much of it, but they drew it so well that you're like, you know, when TMS does that stuff, and you kind of like. But they know how to do it, and they kind of nailed it.
Any episode where someone clenches their fist and you see knuckle lines, I go like, not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
We didn't do any sort of good transition out of Dan Riba talking to Into the Mail. It'll just kind of abruptly cut out of this. So this is mail.
That yacht. That one small extra yacht. Put it over.
We drop
What we drop?
our weekly yacht
Oh yeah, those.
into the comment box.
Dan Riba!
There sure was a lot.
Now Jamie's mad.
Too bad we're all
At least I am.
Just Dan
still
Riba.
in
Hey, we're all Dan Riba on the inside. Where it counts.
I was gonna say that we could just do or you could have done like and now to the mail.
Nah, I don't think so.
And
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and then you just not now. It doesn't.
No, we're not allowed to add anything. It has to just be
Are we able to subtract things?
we can subtract you. Bye-bye. Everyone cheers, because it's just me now. Their favorite host of the podcast. Should I just keep talking? Yeah, I just keep talking. Okay. We got a Scrudge update on the utility belt list, which is his running list of all the things in Batman's utility belt. Brian's purposely not saying anything because I deleted it. I minused him or whatever we just said, subtracted. That's the spell that releases you back into the podcast. Oh, my clarion call. Anyway,
Scrudge, give us the update.
Well, I can't open it on my phone. I just wanted to let you know he's continued to update.
Okay.
It's going to be helpful later. Oh, by the way, if you want to reach out to us like the Fire Hand at the end of the Cat in the Claw Part 2, which I just featured in the latest Watchtower database video that Brian can't watch yet, you should send email to batwagonpod@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on the Podtower YouTube channel. This is from Jordan Newman. This is GCN Musical Minutes.
You're listening to GCN, Gotham City News with Jack Ryder.
Sure am.
Tonight's top story, the Riddler was apparently reformed, but turned out to still be a criminal. And who could possibly have seen that coming?
Batman.
Also, police tell me that Batman was sealed up in a very locked room with an explosion, and they're not sure how he escaped. He won't tell anyone. If I had to guess, I'd say he used some kind of bat bomb defense gadget from his belt. Hey, Batman, call me and let me know if I'm right. Now over to the music. We got a little bit of that Riddler leitmotif in here that I still maintain sounds like it belongs in a Western. And good music. I don't really have any insights for you this week, but never apologize for loving your fandom and try to stay optimistic.
I will. That's been mentioned several times, the Riddler theme, and I never hear it. I'm never looking for it, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either, but I want to know now that it sounds Western.
We just... Yes, the Riddler. Who wouldn't have known? Yeah. This is from Pedro Enrique. Thoughts on Riddler's reform?
Pedro.
Hello, James and Brian. So Baxter
Hello.
hires Riddler, a convicted criminal and kidnapper who had plans to murder multiple people because of market recognition. Who are you marketing these toys to? Domestic terrorists?
Of course.
Yes, the old classic inflatable Riddler that can somehow shoot a gun trick. You see, it makes no sense, therefore we can't question it. What was pulling the trigger? I can't believe after all these episodes, no one took the Riddler's real name, Edward Nigma, and made a single Edward Ligma joke. Oh no, Edward has Ligma. This episode was okay. With all the other episodes about a villain's redemption, this was the weakest one to me. Riddler just seems to give up on his own plans in the middle of the episode, since sooner or later he was going to get caught. The riddles didn't really feel that connected. The episode felt half-finished. I think it's hard to write a character to be super smart that still has to get outsmarted by Batman in the end. It's a tough balance between who's going to look bad, Batman for not solving the riddles quicker, or Riddler for making such easy puzzles. Hopefully we have something better next week. Until then, stay yoppie. Interesting. We really liked this episode, and you're wrong. It was pretty fun listening back to the chat with Dan on this, because we're now the farthest away from that recording session. So yeah, another good one.
That was like a month ago. More? I can't recall.
3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think it was. Yeah.
Fiacra Horgan. Hey guys, hope you had a great week. This episode is one of my absolute favorites. Good. And cemented Riddler is one of the best Batman villains in my opinion, of course. Disagree and face my wrath. Oh, you and Pedro Enrique getting on. I remember watching it a few times as a kid, but weirdly, I don't know how I did. I didn't own the Riddler VHS. The show was already off the air at the time, and I didn't realize there were DVD volumes of the series until I was 9. Looks like it'll remain as one of my life's mysteries. I'm going to take a swig of drink because I can hear my own tongue like the whole time. It's really gross. My back was like seizing up again, almost as bad as it did a couple years ago. And so I went to urgent care and was like, please give me the same stuff. Like, I don't want this to get worse and to the point where I can't even walk like last time. So I'm currently on 2 different medications for that, and they're working, but my mouth is dry as hell, and I have the cottonest mouth.
Have you thought about just sucking on a sponge or something?
I thought you were going to say something else.
Like an ice cube?
Yeah. After watching this episode again for the first time in a while, the main thing that stood out was how those rain effects during that jewelry heist do not hold up at all. We talked about the rain a lot.
We did.
Once you start focusing on the rain, you can just see the loop. Yeah, it's a shame, too, because my nostalgic child brain, that scene was awesome, especially the moment when the music swells as Batman descends upon the henchmen on the suspended platform. Otherwise,
with the Riddler theme.
Yeah, the Riddler. I've got Riddler in my... That's how it goes. Batman's exit from the party, couple keen, awesome moments when the lightning flashes, because you can't help yourself, you can't stop, and I'll be waiting. Very cool, shadowy Batman moments in this one, too. Shout out to John Glover. He's an excellent Riddler, capturing the arrogance, but also the unhinged side of the character perfectly. Also, was that a Dan Riba cameo in the director's chair? Yes, it was.
Yes, but you'll know that now.
James probably mentioned it in Cool Tribs. There's sure a lot of villain reform redemption episodes in the latter half of BTAS. Good episode. Looking forward to next week's one. See you then. We'll see you too. This is from Scarloy 1. Jump on the Mechanic Wagon, Season 2, Episode 7. Go!
Hello, listener, and welcome back to Jump on the Mechanic Wagon. I'm your host, Scarloy 1. In this episode, I will tell you about Season 2, Episode 7 of Earl the Animated Series, Jared's Reform.
The Riddler.
While Earl was at the grocery store, a man came up to him. When Earl saw who it was, he said, "Jared Seda Jones, are you here to try and kill me again?" "No, Earl, I'm here to apologize. I'm sorry about trying to kill you and leaving that letter in your garage and being in your thermos. Let me finish.
Canteen.
Your daughter,
The
canteen.
canteen.
On your family photos."
I do like thermos has a better comedic quality.
Fun fact about this episode, the airdate order and production order are different. So in this episode, Jared references the events in an episode that I won't be talking about for a couple weeks. Anyway, see you next week. Same spooky time, same boo-boo channel.
Damn, that's getting insane, man. I
Wow.
remember when these started, I was like, okay, yeah, these are kind of fun. And now there's like so much lore to them that I... Oh, yeah. He's back. Dino-faced individual writes in Riddler's Reform Hench Reviews. Comment submitted by Waxy Baxy.
I want to know who this is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Dino-faced individual.
Dino-faced
It's a guy with a
individual.
dinosaur face. This is the Monopoly guy, I guess. I can't remember his voice. Frankly, I'm offended that I have to post my review on this website. When I told the customer support my complaints, they told me, "Sorry, we can't allow you on villain reviews. You may be a multi-billion corporate mogul, but we're not looking for that kind of villain." Well, since I'm here, I might as well use it. I would rate Nigma very poorly. I can excuse his villainous extracurriculars. I've done far worse myself, after all. What I can't excuse is Ed throwing his costume away. Nigma, you idiot. That's my money you're throwing out. 1 out of 5. I needed the green to make more green-selling kids' plastic toys made with radium. The dye in his suit. I need to get a big green suit. That'd be cool.
Do it.
Says, is this the right email address? Hi, Jim Jam and Brother Broderick. I tried sending this email to the new address James mentioned, batwagonpod@gmail.com, not Batwagonpod. It's just Batwagonpod. That's the full email. That whole sentence I just said at gmail.com, that part was included too at gmail.com. But I can't, so I'll send it here. Hope you get this one. Applause for you writing all that out. I remember liking this episode, but not much else. But I have an extra trivia for you two. I think Mike Mignola designed Riddler's BTAS costume. I've read this somewhere when I first watched the series, but I couldn't find any evidence. A few months ago, I have something I might call evidence. In Mike Mignola's IMDb page, he's credited as character designer in 2 BTAS episodes, Heart of Ice and If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? I think they didn't get such a big name for designing Thug Number 3. He must have designed Riddler. That's interesting. I knew he designed Mr. Freeze for this show. I didn't know about Riddler, though. I don't know if that's true. Maybe he designed Mockridge or some shit. I don't know.
I didn't know about like the depths of like character design.
Mm-hmm.
That this is just like, I kind of just assumed that like the animators went through it, but there's somebody who's like, this character, you need to design this character. And that was that Dan a lot of the times we were talking about
Dan
that?
was one of the main character designers before being promoted to director, yeah. But he did plenty. Bruce Timm does like most of the main characters, but incidentals and side characters and villains sometimes, yeah.
Like how deep does that go? How deep does a character design go?
What do you mean by deep?
Like, is it just like surface
Pencil
level
pushed all the way through the table. I'm really getting into this. Mr.
Freeze. No, like, is it just like surface level, like skin of the video game character, or is it like how they move, like mannerisms? Or
mostly like, I think it. So you'll see like there's a book called Batman Animated that just goes over all the production of the show essentially, and a lot of the main characters, facing at like a quarter turn angle so you can see like whatever you'd need to see, would be Bruce Timm or 2 or 3 other people. But then someone else will also go and do like a turnaround of that character, so like quarter turn side, quarter turn the other way, back, quarter turn the other way, side, like all the way around.
Oh my!
So every possible angle of that person or monster or whatever,
including like top and.
I don't think
underside?
There's a top. No, I mean there might be. I've just never seen them.
So whenever like the camera pans over Batman's head, there's just the like gray and white checkerboard.
Yeah, it's like missing asset. Please relink to Adobe Premiere. Yeah. It's a media not found on top of Batman's head. That's my headcanon now, I think.
I like that.
This is what rhymes with Millen's Dois Vesage.
It's time for the thoughts of the week from Dylan Pollock on Riddler's reform, or Don't Toy With Me, Batman. I like how they said, well, the studio demanded more Robin, but not that we make him remotely cool, so let's have him get his foot busted so Batman can be cool on his own for a bit, and Robin can just kind of sit there underneath the bookshelf or something. Obviously, this is the best Riddler episode and one of the best endings of any Batman the Animated Series episode. I really appreciate the way we get to know the criminals that Batman faces because unlike some other Batmen, this Batman is compassionate and in no rush to kill them.
True.
So I really didn't have a lot to say on this one. I think it's good, but like it doesn't really have like a lot of hot takes to comment on or anything. So I'm just going to get to the question of the week. What's a movie or show you watched that was so bad that you never finished it and have no desire to finish it? Let me know.
My God, I know I have these, but like...
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Prison Break. We watched... There's 4 seasons, and I think maybe recently there was like some sort of TV movie or additional season or something. But the first season's really good, and then the second season was kind of whatever. The third season was bad, and then the fourth season was so bad that we stopped watching it, I think 1 or 2 episodes before the series finale, and then never finished it. And I've talked like that was like 2012 or something, and I've talked about like we should just watch the last episode. Don't rewatch the whole show. We should just watch it completely. Don't know who anyone is or what's going on.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I know that there's definitely been some shows that I've like rage quit. But I can't think of them right off the top of my head. I know lately I've been struggling to get through the show Love.
Okay. I'm not familiar.
It's
MILF Island? Whatever. MILF Manor? That's what it is.
It's pretty good. There's like good writing, but the characters like basically all have no redeeming qualities, and it's like a show that I can watch about an episode every month and a half. But I'm like, the last episode is actually pretty redeeming. I'm like, okay, well maybe I can get through this. I will kind of like sidestep that one and say that Night Circus is the worst book ever, second worst book ever written.
You've told me about this, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a book that I got most of the way through, and then I was so frustrated by it and how terribly it's written and how awful the characters like lack of everything is.
This might be a callback to episodes, like the first couple of episodes of this podcast. I think you went on a rant about this. Yeah,
that's good. There's another book that I can't remember what it is. I can't remember the name of it. It was one of those books that was so infuriating that I got literally like every bit of it out of I read the whole thing, and then I think I ran to the nearest like, tiny, like the little library thing that people put out front of their houses and like dumped it. And I was like, I never want to see this again. And I can't even remember. It was a white cover. That's
You're like Jumanji sending it on to the next person.
You shall be
You're
cursed.
cursed now. Yeah. This is from Ashley Tutchin. I can't wait to hear how shocked Brian will be when he realizes that Riddler's reform is all about Edward Nygma pursuing a career in politics, trying to enact sweeping reforms to Gotham's law enforcement policies. Would that be a better or worse episode? I don't know. Tip Tapricot says, sad I missed my chance to comment. Oh, chance is in bold, like second chance. To comment last episode, as it's one of the most solid and enjoyable BTAS episodes in my opinion, with pacing, character dynamics, and exploration, animation, etc. But I'm back for this week, and catching up on the podcast was a delight. Unfortunately, Riddler's reform is not my favorite. Ugh. I didn't really feel like it had a focus or mystery. Unlike previous questionable reform episodes, you never really think he's actually gone good, and the episode's length prevents any super long trail of riddles from taking place, making what we get feel even thinner in comparison. I like it in concept, and I think the characterization and voice work we get for Riddler is delightful, but the story execution itself was weak and didn't really stick the landing for me. Not the worst, but just a bit bland, especially when put up against Second Chance just previous or a similar episode type like House and Garden. Expecting this episode to not be very safe, in quotes, because the safe, from being blown to bits, as Batman wouldn't have been either.
Interesting. Also, I'm finding that this episode for us versus the listener is the same with On Leather Wings between you and me.
You and me. Oh, just the worst
this
episode.
Sucks. This episode's terrible.
Yeah,
and we're like, yeah, we'll put it on the top.
We might have been mildly influenced by the fact that, well, one, the director was there with us, but two, that we have just been waiting for a good Riddler episode and it finally happened. But
that's definitely a big part for me.
But I also I like it. I think it's good. Nick Sorensen, while Two-Face's other appearances with his fellow Arkham inmates have been fun, I'm glad they did an episode like this that goes back to the Harvey Dent side of the character, reminding us how much Bruce still cares about his old friend and will do what he can to help bring him back, even if Big Bad Harv wasn't going to have it. I also think this is one of the best episodes to explore the real complexities of Harvey's split personality and how he really is his own worst enemy to prevent himself from being rehabilitated, which Brian hated. Easily the second best of the Two-Face-centric episodes so far. Since I haven't tried one of these before, I guess I'll give it the episode a 4, getting accidentally knocked out by ceiling light fixtures out of 5.
Knocked out or completely annihilated?
Pancake flattened, yeah. Ian Thompson, Riddler's reform, you're adorable. That's a quote from he didn't say the name of the Riddler, says something like that. Pretty funny how Gordon is so impressed by, checks notes, walkie-talkie balls. I guess it's a pretty cool toy, though. Yeah, I did think that was interesting at the end. Gordon's like, yeah, fascinating stuff, this blah, blah, blah. It's a fucking radio.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Riddler episode. Okay, good. I like how it humanizes him. And shows the real depths and pitfalls of his obsessions. To his credit, I think Batman hiding in the safe is a cop-out. Kind of wish we as an audience never learned how he escaped. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
The best way to beat Riddler historically is to cheat, and I think that includes in the writer's room in this case. Yeah. Lenola Cola. With Riddler's reform, I wonder what other villains become reformed titles the DCAU crew could have workshopped. Think about it. Boss Biggis's Big Change. Redemption of the Red Claw. Cry for the Croc. It's finally my time. Clock King reformed story. And what I want most, Sewer King from Slaver to Savior. Oh, no. From Slaver to Savior. And Mark Aquino. First, last, whatever. Riddler's reform, whatever at this point. I don't even care. Take a drink. Yeah, drink with me.
I literally don't have anything here.
Oh, okay.
Whatever already.
Riddler's reform. Riddle me this, riddle me that. In the shadow of the Bat two-parter, where did he put that? Oh, man. I had forgotten about that. Boy, we keep getting these villains seemingly trying to quit being villains episodes. We've gotten these so often, they may as well be Bri Boy's new default guest for every episode from now on.
That's a
Is it Batman's origin story? Anyway, I think John Glover's Riddler is underrated in terms of his performance. I like to imagine when he was filming Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, he thought to himself, well, at least I know what a good Batman project feels like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, his character's good. And a new Yoppie Tower episode is up now. Let me tell you something. I myself have been maintaining a YouTube channel of my own for over 13 years. While it's been hard lately to make new content for a variety of reasons, I at least know I shouldn't feel too pressured to make something ASAP and just take my time to give what I'm working on the care it needs, seeing as how it takes you-know-who a whole month to put up less than 7 minutes of himself whining and trying to sound impressive. That's right, Yop. Shots fired. You know, Mark, you make me read that. Like, I'm not saying that, to be clear. But you're unironically, you should take your time with everything. That's kind of our motto lately on Watchtower Database. Take time, put out a good video every time instead of just putting something out. As always, Boss Biggest Bear Hugs, #1 podcast host in this here multiverse of ours, Jagged Little Pill and Big Meaty Claws. That's maybe my favorite of Brian so far. Praise to our Lord and Savior Dylan Pollock and all the other names I'm not going to read. You're all the best. Never forget that. The next episode is a big one of the more thematically heavy episodes in all of BTAS, or The Adventures of Batman and Robin, I guess. And it's also considered one of the all-time best. It's definitely one that I'm interested in hearing what Brick Oven Pizza thinks of it. Till next time, Smoke Bomb. That was. I can't say the name of it because it'll mess up the chronology of the podcast, but you already know it's called Baby Doll. I said it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have a good guess. And you haven't been thinking about it for the last month either, so you wouldn't have a better guess right now. No.
I sure would.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why don't you perfectly guess the plot of Baby Doll for me right now?
Yeah, okay. Baby Dolls Reform.
Fuck. No. First episode, and then also you did it. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, back to Daniel Riba, as it said on Zoom.
Sweet.
Brian's plot prediction of the next episode.
Okay.
The next episode is called Baby Doll.
Baby Doll.
Any thoughts at all on what this could possibly be? Dan also directed this episode, so you better get it right.
Well,
no, there's no way you can predict what that is.
I don't think so, but you can try.
Okay, my thought, you got, because this is so obscure, you're gonna have to give me a couple guesses here.
Sure. You get 3 total guesses.
I'm thinking it's either that sounds like it could almost be like something that, like, I don't know, that like Harley would say, but considering past things, is it another obscure bad guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But obscure in that created for this episode.
Yeah. Just like a kind of
very
like
obscure,
a one-off kind of, you know, it's a bad girl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
Close enough. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what am I supposed to guess past that?
I don't know. You still have a third guess, but
oh, okay.
It's Killer Croc.
It's Killer Croc. Bad baby girl.
The truth lies in the middle there somewhere.
You're remarkably close with 2 of your answers. So I think we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it.
Okay.
It's like we're just like you're almost right. So
I don't think you could get Baby Doll really, but
okay.
Then you'll know who Baby Doll is, and you'll be like, "Damn."
Yeah.
I did just reveal to you that that's the name of the character on accident.
Baby Doll.
All right. Don't even.
Dan, are you familiar with the movie Tapeheads? It's a John Cusack and oh my god, I can't.
I haven't seen it, but I vaguely remember it.
They're like music video maker guy. It's a comedy movie.
Yeah.
They're one of their first on spec music videos that they make. That is a Swedish rock band that I think was real or is real still. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it, but the music video they're doing is just like they'd have no idea what they're doing. So the band's playing their song, and in the middle of it, they're just throwing paint on them, throwing feathers on them. They're just trying to put any pizzazz they possibly can into the video. There's fans going, all this stuff, and the guys are just like, like while they're trying to lip sync. And the song that they're singing is just, Baby Doll, dun, 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 boom, boom, Baby Doll, just over and over. I can't think of anything else other than that song every time.
That should have been our theme song. Oh,
yeah, come on. But yeah, there's my baby doll story for you.
Great story,
Thank
buddy.
you. Well, thank you for being here, Dan,
You're welcome.
talking Riddlers Reform with us. Hopefully we'll get you back on. Maybe we can do like a once a year Dan Riba kind of thing. If you want to hear more discussion about this episode, Riddlers Reform, you should check out the DCAU Review and Timm Talk podcasts, which are also available on the Podtower YouTube channel, just like this podcast. Thank you to Kimmy, Cooney Phoenix, Viltsu, and of course, Brother Broderick over here, which is a riff on what's his face from Prophecy of Doom.
I don't even remember.
With the guy. For all our musical themes, please subscribe to the Podtower YouTube channel for new DCAU podcasts every week. Leave us a like over there on today's episode to help spread us around the interwebs. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because you might hear your review read on the show. Woo! New episodes of the podcast are released every Friday on the Podtower as well as your favorite podcast feed and watchtowerdatabase.com. And that's all the stuff that I say at the end.
Thank you, listener, for
Cool.
tuning in again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's impossible, I tell you! Impossible! My trap was perfect! How did he do it? I have to know! Somebody tell me! It's not fair! There was no way, I tell you! No way he could have gotten out! Somebody tell me! Do you hear me?